All right, let's dive into a story that starts out so sweet, so wholesome, you can almost smell the cinnamon. But trust me, it ends somewhere else. We're talking about grandmas, gene editing, and apple pies that, well, maybe don't want to be eaten.
I mean, just think about that for a second. What if that perfect slice of pie, the one that tastes like childhood and comfort, could just stay that way? Forever. Always fresh, always ready. A little taste of home that literally never goes bad.
And this is where it all gets going. Not in some fancy billion-dollar lab, but in kitchens and garages, led by the most unlikely of biopioneers, a whole bunch of grandmothers.
Yeah, they set out to bake a miracle, to create the perfect, everlasting treat. But, as you're about to see, the recipe for perfection sometimes calls for some unexpected and, let's just say, squirmy ingredients.
So, our story really kicks off in the American heartland. A grassroots movement starts bubbling up, and the media gives them this amazing name, the nanonucleotide ninjas. They were using this brand new, accessible biotech to solve one of life's oldest tragedies. A perfect homemade pie just doesn't last long enough.
The key to all this was CRISPR. Think of it as, a tiny pair of scissors for DNA. You can snip out a piece you don't want and paste in something new. And it had gotten so cheap and easy, you could literally order a do-it-yourself kit from Amazon's Gene Gourmet aisle. The plan was pretty brilliant. Just add a gene that says never spoils to the apple's DNA, and voila.
And this is Evie Hargrove. She's 78 from Iowa, and she basically became the poster grandma for the whole movement. I mean, listen to her. She wasn't just baking dessert, she was engineering a family heirloom. Her immortal apple pie actually won a blue ribbon at a state fair after sitting in an aging chamber for a simulated 50 years. Incredible!
And Evie was definitely not alone. This number, 5,000, that's how many granny genome groups popped up on Facebook. Can you picture it? They were swapping DNA sequences like they were cookie recipes, turning this little hobby into a massive, worldwide science project. But an idea this revolutionary? There's no way it was staying just in America. The quest for the immortal pie went global, and it went global fast.
Just look at that growth. It was absolutely explosive. From those first 5,000 members, the movement more than doubled, spreading across 47 different countries. Grandmas everywhere were firing up not just their ovens, but their home bioreactors.
And this is where it gets really wild. As it spread, people got creative. Every region started adding its own local genetic flair. In Tokyo, they splice in firefly genes to make these stunning, bioluminescent pies. In Berlin, they used genes from tardigrades, those little water bears, to make pies that could survive a sauna. And in Buenos Aires, they used jellyfish genes for nightlight nibbles that would literally glow in the dark.
And this quote from Fatima Fernandez down in Buenos Aires just perfectly sums up the whole vibe. It was fun, it was a little rebellious, and honestly, it was pretty triumphant. They weren't just baking pies, they were making a point.
But this is where our sweet little story about scientific baking takes a very sharp, very dark, and very tentacled turn. The dream of the immortal pie was about to become a full-blown nightmare.
It all started in a single kitchen in Rhode Island, a small group calling themselves the Providence Pie Pioneers. They just wanted to push the envelope a little bit further.
So their big idea was to use squid genes to create pies with self-sealing slices. Pretty cool, right? The problem was, during a late-night mahjong game, somebody made a tiny mistake. They mixed up a couple of mislabeled vials. The result wasn't a self-sealing pie, it was something else. Something they would come to call the Cthulhu crumb.
The pure horror of what they'd accidentally made is right here in this witness account. One of the pioneers said the pastry started pulsing, growing little pseudopods. The filling was a writhing mess of feelers. It didn't just bake, it seemed to be chatting something from an old horror novel.
And here is the truly terrifying part. This wasn't just a one-off problem in Rhode Island. Because all those recipes were open source, shared in those Facebook groups. That single, simple mistake was accidentally copied in kitchens all over the world.
You couldn't ask for a more chilling contrast, right? The dream was a pie that would stay fresh for your grandkids. The reality became a pie that would try to grab your fingers if you got too close. The whole thing had turned into a global pandemic of predatory pastries.
And it was everywhere. This number, 2,300,
That's how many anomalous pastry incidents were officially reported to the World Health Organization. A brand new, horrifying food crisis was literally bubbling up from the world's ovens.
The reports coming in from around the globe were just as terrifying as they were completely bizarre. You had Lovecraft lamingtons in Sydney found clinging to lampposts. And in Istanbul, a tentacled version of a local pastry was apparently nesting in the Bosphorus Strait.
Of course, the company that sold the kits, Bake-Base Biolabs, had to issue a massive recall. And in a moment of pure dark humor, it turned out the specific kit that caused all the trouble was a special edition called Kits of Arlia, a direct reference to the sunken city of the monster Cthulhu. You just can't make this stuff up.
So how in the world do you solve a problem like a sentient squid pie? The planet was scrambling for an answer, and what they found was, in its own way, just as strange as the problem itself.
The solution was both bizarre and kind of brilliant. Scientists came up with something they called the Sanity Slicer Serum. Get this, it was made from a unique sourdough starter that was being cultivated by a bunch of senior citizens in Stockholm. And when you applied it to one of these monster pies, it didn't kill it. It did something weirder. It shrank them into these harmless, tiny, cute calamari cookies.
And just like that, the world settled into a strange new normal. The dream of a perfect, immortal apple pie was gone. But in its place was something else entirely. An age where your dessert might not last forever, but it might, wiggle a little.
In the end, I guess the grandmas got their wish. They created something immortal, just not in any way they could have possibly imagined. And it leaves us with that one final, haunting question, actually posed by Fatima Fernandez herself. They reached for eternity, but what abyss did they find waiting for them at the bottom of the pie tin?